Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is mix together the cupcake mix I'm going to do. I'm just going to be doing vanilla, plain vanilla, because I kind of forgot how it tastes, like the vanilla cake recipe that I use. So, yeah. And I kind of found out some time ago about the reverse creaming method for cake, and I hadn't made cake for a bit, so I decided since I wanted to make cake this time, let's try it. Overall, I will say how it kind of tasted and worked later on in this part of the baking video. But yeah, as you can see, it kind of turned doughy after just adding the first egg because of the reverse creaming method, but it does end up like regular cake batter. The way that I do it for my recipe is doing the dry and then the liquid, then dry liquid at the end of mixing everything together. So yeah, it was kind of like, oh, this is interesting and how it's working out. I feel like it's kind of like a little bit liquidy as I'm watching it, but it's still generally the same. It's still generally turned out right. And I also use this to see how much exact cake I'm going to be having when I'm making cupcakes. Me personally, also, I love watching cake rise, like when doing like them in super speed, because it's just so satisfying, so nice to watch them rise up. These didn't rise up as much as my typical ones would, I think, just because like when you're using the reverse cream method, it does get a little bit flatter. I've seen, or I was told from other videos, but yeah, it still worked out generally in the end though. I am doing a lot of fast clips here just because all the videos I take, they're always so long. But anyways, here I am making Swiss meringue buttercream. I decided since I wanted to make cupcakes, let's just try for the last time Swiss meringue buttercream. The other two times I think that I made them, it's always just gone wrong. Like it's just been always really soupy. Either I didn't know what I could do to fix it because I hadn't like researched and stuff, or I did, but it didn't work, like putting it into the fridge. I don't think I knew that I had to like re-whip it though. So that's one thing about that. But I also wanted to use this as like a way to practice decorating skills with different like tips, because I actually was waiting still on that day like if the piping bags were gonna come, because I ran out of the disposable piping bags and I don't really like using the reusable ones. So yeah, and it wasn't gonna come, and thankfully it did take a while to get everything set up, so by the time I actually wanted to decorate, the piping bags had come. But like I started at like 1 o'clock with this because I did wake up late, and then I didn't get the piping bags until like almost 3:30. No, yeah, I think I ended at like 5, so it could have been like 5:30. But yeah, almost 3:30. So it isn't too long, but when you think about it, it is. But anyways, here we are whipping it all up, and yeah, it took a long time. So because I had said it's had like a lot of trouble just generally working for the meringue buttercream, I was just always checking like during this stage, just making sure like it was added stiff peaks that it needed, making sure all the sugar was dissolved. To be honest, I feel like there was still some particles left, because even when I was like touching the buttercream when it was done by itself, there was still some particles, but it still was fine. So yeah, this is just a spoiler that it did work, because usually it's during the butter stages that it doesn't work, which you will see in some time, but I'll talk about that when we get there. So again, we are still whipping and whipping and whipping and whipping. But anyways, now we are about to start adding the butter. So after like the third or fourth one, I don't know how much, maybe after like 4 tablespoons. It started getting soupy. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to have to put this in the fridge anyways. Yeah, I get it. But then, boom, 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 after like the other stick, it started getting thickened. Or, sorry, not thickened, thicker. And I was like, oh, wait, what? Oh, wait. So, like, all the times that I thought I was doing it wrong, was it maybe because I just needed to wait patiently, trust in the Lord, and just know that He has something in mind for it? I don't know. That's how I knew. It's like, oh wow, like, yes, thank you, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to do this whole thing. But yeah, I added in the flavoring, just plain vanilla. Yeah, plain vanilla. And yeah, I just put it to store away as I started to work on the fillings, because I wanted to do a filled cupcake. So when you have an actual filling inside the actual cupcake. But I'm re-whipping it just to make sure it's all smoothed out, because there was some still like sugar on the sides of it, but I couldn't really scrape that off. So I don't know if that had anything to do with anything of not working, but probably. And so I wanted to make a caramel because I love caramel, and all the other times I tried it, I never had heavy cream, so I had to do like a substitution, but it didn't really work. So my mom was calling me while I was trying to make it. And so while I was waiting for the sugar to dissolve, like the last second, when it was super close to being all dissolved, I could see some black spots because it was starting to burn. So yeah, overall it did work, but it got burnt, so I couldn't use it. I tried like using salt to kind of see if that would do anything, but it didn't. So that's just that. So I couldn't use that, Sally. And so for the other fillings, I wanted to use some leftover chocolate I had for my mom's cake that I put on top for a drip, and try to make whipped ganache. It didn't really look like the picture that I saw, like, to see how to do it. I mean, obviously you just whip it, but I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, I didn't really see any difference color-wise, because I didn't really whip it right when it was cold. I kind of heated it up so I could put it into this bowl. So that could have been something, because it's better when it's like probably colder or maybe room temperature. But yeah, it did get thicker after a long while, but not as much as I want it to be. And even though it was milk chocolate, it was still kind of bitter. Kind of. But anyways, as you can see, I'm poking holes into the cupcakes because that's what I'm going to do to fill them. I just used a Ziploc bag because I didn't have any scooper. And it was actually kind of hard to put the stuff into it. And even just poking the holes in general, like making sure it's deep enough and not too deep. So I get why people use the cupcake scoopers. So I wanted to do 3 fillings in general, but I only got to be able to do 2 because of the caramel. But the other one I wanted to do was the strawberry whipped cream that I used for another dessert, for Cream Plus, because I really don't like when I have leftovers, because then it's like, what do I do with them? Like even the leftover egg yolks I had because of the Swiss meringue buttercream, it's like, what do I do with them? Because either I don't have enough egg yolks for certain recipes, or too much. I don't know. It's just totally but we will see what I can do with them, because they're my baking eggs, not my eating eggs. I don't want to just make scrambled eggs or anything. Okay, so now we're getting to the point of frosting them. And here's where the problem occurred. I had put it in the fridge to just put it there to chill, I guess, still, even though it wasn't like super anything. But then because I did that, it started to break, because for some reason, even though it's not supposed to be like curdled or anything, or sorry, curdled, but like, sorry, crusting or anything in the fridge. Mine still did. I don't know why. But yeah, this breakage showed that it curdled. So I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. Let me see what I can do with this. It's like, don't I put it back on the heat? But like, for how long? Like, isn't it like the sides or anything? Anyways, but yeah, so we are putting it back onto the stove. So it was a little bit softer afterwards, but it still worked out totally fine. I decided to use the 1M tip and not like switch off between any others just because of time and stuff. So I was like, what design shall I do? So I decided to do the basic rosette one, and as you can see, it actually worked out nice. So I was like, yay, but that's so basic. And the 1M is a classic, so I decided let's just stick with this one only and work with the other ones later on. So my hands are kind of messy with frosting. That's what happens when I have to keep refilling this piping bag. But yeah, I decided just to do that again because I was like, what other ones are there? Because I did watch a video just to see like, oh, what do the certain piping tips do? Because I still haven't used every single one of them. I've only used maybe even a couple out of the many that I have. I know what the grass piping tip does and some of the others, but I never actually use them myself. So trying to remember what I saw at the video, I knew they have the classic flower one, kind of like squiggles, and there was the one that kind of gets taller in its shape as you just push up, which that one to me actually kind of looks so good and classic. I don't think I've ever seen an actual cupcake like that up close, like in person, but hey, still great, still great. So this is me cutting into the cupcakes to see what they look like on the inside. I kind of had trouble like knowing which one was which because I knew some of them. And I could have actually just used a toothpick and poked it inside so I could see if there's anything in there. But I didn't figure that out until later. And so now you will have some of them that are cut, some of them that still are left fine. Overall, it was still moist. I actually kind of figured I don't really like vanilla cake as much as chocolate cake anymore. But the buttercream was still pretty nice. It was actually sweet, like still really sweet, like unlike what people say. And overall together, I think it was all still pretty good. I might give it a 7 out of 10 maybe. I ate a lot, so that might make me feel sickened. Okay, so for day 2, we are making some chocolate chip cookies and some blue M&M cookies. So right now here, I'm making some brown butter. This isn't really a part of what the recipe that I used called for, but, you know, it's supposed to make it have more extreme yumminess flavor. Let me just say, I do not like chocolate chip cookies. It just, like, right after the second bite, it's just too chocolatey. Like, if there's, like, a freshly baked cookie, maybe I'll sometimes take it. But if it's just there, I would rather have a sugar cookie than a chocolate chip cookie. Anything but a chocolate chip cookie, okay? But anyways, it kind of smelled weird. I smelled it, and it was like, this smells weird. I was like, is it burnt? I don't think so. It didn't seem too brown to me. It even kind of seemed a little bit lighter than it should be. But anyways, here we're just adding all the flavorings, which is just obviously vanilla. That's the only other flavor that you put in there. Not really any actual chocolate. And then I'm adding the dry ingredients. It said like, oh, to spoon in the flour so then it's not like, you know, too dry. I didn't do that. I just leveled it off. So I was sort of, let's just hope this isn't too much flour. But anyways, the dough kind of seemed like a small amount to me though. So, but like it still worked out. I was able to do the different flavors that I wanted to do. And if you hear anything in the background, that's my sister eating some ice cream, actually drinking some ice cream. So here I am dyeing the dough blue because I want to make those blue cookies, not monster cookies, blue cookies with some chocolate chips, white chocolate chips, yada yada you. And with this food coloring, it's kind of hard to get it to be blue. Like, you have to use a lot of food coloring. But I know, like, you have to use, like, AmeriColor is, like, a good thing to use. But I'm just going to wait on that because it costs a lot of money just for, like, a pack of 6. Wow. But anyways, here I'm mixing in all of the chocolate chips, the M&Ms, because I had blue M&Ms from a graduation party. So I just collected all the little goodie bags of the candy, and then I took them all. There was like 13 of them, and I was able to get that much M&Ms. But here we are. So this one is the chocolate chip, white chocolate chip, caramel, and I think toffee, but it kind of tastes like, it looks like caramel, but it does not taste like caramel that I got at the graduation. And here we are baking them. Again, I love seeing things just like mold together in the oven. So seeing them rise in fast speed, that's nice. And I'm just adding some sea salt on top. So yeah, they were actually really good. Like, I ate like 4 of them. Again, I overdo it on the sweets. Whenever I make something, I just keep eating it because it's always so good. It did end up, after cooling, kind of being more chewier than I would like. And as you can see, there's so many people just taking all the cookies. Wow, so yummy. So for rating these cookies, I would probably maybe give it like an 8 out of 10. When it's freshly out of the oven, I'm telling you, it's so good, nice and soft. I love soft cookies, soft things. I don't really like crispy, crunchy cookies. That's disgusting. And chewy cookies, if it's at least still soft, then it's okay. With the caramel was so good with it. Like, that's my favorite, but obviously it still had chocolate chips in them. The chocolate was okay when eating it, but caramel over chocolate. Anyways, and also the salt, like adding salt on top, like, I think I just saw it in a video once. Like, I didn't even do it before when I first made chocolate chip cookies. When I was doing it for like an order that wasn't an order. I mean, it was, but it wasn't, because I wasn't starting my baking business. But anyways, it's so nice. Like, something, like, usually it's like chocolate with salt. It's just anything cookie-wise with salt on top, yummy. Even sugar cookies. I wonder if I added some salt on top, if it would taste so good. Yes, it would. Welcome everyone to day 3. As you can see, we are making macarons. So I started to add too much to the sifter, so it was kind of hard to sift, but I did scoop some out. But we are making chocolate macarons, and the macaron recipe I use is basically kind of just the same as my regular vanilla one, so it wasn't really too difficult of change. So I could just follow the same recipe I had in my book. But right now we are whipping the egg whites, which it was taking a long time because for some reason, the whisk attachment wasn't like going all the way to the bottom of the bowl, which it should be. But anyway, so I kind of had to move it around so then it could get to this because it was taking a long time. But here I am testing out. Basically, if it drops, it's not whipped enough, and it was. So now we are adding the dry ingredients into this, which is the maquillage part of this. And I decided not to go back to see how I'm supposed to mix it because that would just take too long. And so you're supposed to be able to make a figure 8, but whenever I do that, it always just ends up breaking. And I know if I mix it too much, it would probably get overmixed. So I usually just do it when it kind of makes a figure 8 and there's not a bunch of like lumps. It's kind of hard to mix it because it was super thick and my arms are getting tired and it was super hot. I don't know why it was super hot, but it was. But I opened up all the windows, so probably. So I'm just using a Ziploc bag for this because I decided not to use a piping bag because that's just a waste. And I only use those for when I'm going to be using an actual piping tip. And this is what you do to kind of help any air bubbles. Right now we are making the ganache that's going to be in the filling actually. And right now I'm going to go chill it. And here I'm just checking if the tops are dry, which basically it should be before you put it into the oven. And so when I took them out of the oven, I decided to put them back in because they weren't like as firm as I wanted them to be. And so the second rack that I put in, after a little bit, kind of got a little bit too brown. So like half or majority of them kind of got like
not eatable because you could taste the burntness, but some of them were still able to use, so that's good. But these are the ones that were pretty nice. And right now I am filling them with the chilled chocolate ganache filling. So they did taste okay. The chocolate ganache filling wasn't as sweet because the chocolate chips that I use aren't super duper sweet. So it was just a huge chocolate overload. Here are the ones that were a little bit more brown, but I still was able to use some of them. Personally, I do prefer vanilla because it's just super chocolatey if I use chocolate and chocolate, but it was still pretty good. So me personally, I would give it maybe an 7 out of 10 just because it was like a chocolate overload. If I had maybe like been able to add like a caramel or some other sort of sweet or fruit thing inside of it as well, maybe it would have helped the super chocolatiness. But I would still eat it, but maybe next time just like not chocolate.